Welcome back, viewers. This is the 23rd episode of S.A.L.T, Sharing and Learning Together, a combined class project of Master of Divinity second year and Master of Arts in Clinical Counseling, both of course students of Oriental Theological Seminary. This is part of our learning journey under the course and introduction to Pastoral Care and Counselling, and the participants are all students, and therefore the content of this video is purely for educational and awareness purposes. On this episode, we will be talking about financial counseling. Well, we all know that in itself, money is not the problem. We need money to buy, sell, and meet our individual needs. Problems comes because of our individual and cultural attitudes toward money and our inefficiencies in handling finances wisely. Money problems are rarely discussed despite the fact that individual tension, marital and family conflict, interpersonal anger, frustration, anxiety, and a host of other issues at times are related directly or indirectly to the pursuit of money and its management. We are not here, of course, to lecture you on what you can or you cannot do with your finances, but our aim is to open a healthy discussion surrounding financial management, and we will try to explore some of the ill effects of financial mismanagement and also some ways to deal with them effectively. So joining me for this very important discussion today, I have with me Mr. Lipretulo, Ms. Kinunguno Tsurho, Ms. Visala Yimpintong. They are, of course, doing their second year in Master of Divinity here in Oriental Theological Seminary. So to get this discussion going, let us first address the elephant in the room. What do we mean by financial counseling? Because whenever we talk about counseling, many things comes to mind, but hardly finances. So what do we mean by financial counseling? And also, what do you think it is needed?
Okay, so let me just begin with this. Say you got your monthly paycheck or your monthly pocket money in the first of the month. Then by the 15th, it's already gone. You've spent it in your rents, your bills, and impulsive buyings. And you find yourself borrowing from others to survive until the next salary that you get. So this is not necessarily because of your carelessness or anything, but because financial management is not something that we are usually taught about. So we find ourselves, constantly stuck in this vicious cycle of earning, spending, and stressing. So what if there is someone who can actually help us to break this cycle? So that's where financial counseling comes in. So financial counseling, it gives us a space and it provides education and guidance and support for families and individuals to navigate through any money challenges or financial difficulties towards better financial decisions. So what these financial counselors they do is they would evaluate the client's current financial situations, and then they will help to developing a healthy financial habits or create achievable and realistic financial goals. And so financial counseling, it usually covers areas like budgeting, debt management, savings, insurance, tax, and retirement plannings, and so on. So this financial counseling, this is not widely known in our context or even in others in that matter. But in today's fast-moving world, where our economic system is constantly changing, and our money decision it shapes our lives every day, I think financial counseling is not just helpful, but it is the need of the hour.
Well, thank you, Ms. Kinney, for very clearly defining for us why we need, or for that matter, what financial counseling is all about. I think what you said is very true. We are all somehow stuck in this vicious cycle of spending, earning, and also, sometimes very critically getting into debt. So, like you said, I think this is the need of the hour. Our schools and our churches and we also as counselors really need to be talking about the importance of financial counseling. So thank you so much for highlighting that very clearly for us. Well, having said that, I want us to have, also the viewers back at home, to have an understanding of what the Bible says about financial management. Because we tend to have this unhealthy view that if you are a true believer, if you are a Christian or a follower of Jesus Christ, then poverty is taken as a form of piety. When we read the Bible, we find that most of, especially patriarchs like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, we are told that they were wealthy, they were rich, and of course, the famous man Solomon. Bible says that in the days of Solomon, silver was as common as a stone. So, having said all that, I think we need to have a very clear understanding of what the Bible says about our finances. Can you kindly enlighten the viewers on that?
So financial problem is the leading cause of most of our problems and conflicts in our families and society today. And when we look at the Bible considers finance as a gift from God. So we think that finance or possessions, wealth, etc., they are only provided to the righteous people or the people who practice generous giving. But it is not so. When we look at the followers of Jesus, we see that they also have their own share of struggles in terms of finances. So we become resentful when we stop receiving the blessings, and we tend to blame God and be resentful to God. And the Bible tells us continuously, it urges us not to be prideful, boasting in our finances. And as I quote from Matthew chapter 25, verse 14 to 18, the master, he gives out the different bags of gold to his servants. Like first, to the first servant, he gives 3 bags, and the second 2, and the third with 1. And we see that the first 2 servants faithfully worked and increased their blessings of finances, but the third person, he hid his finances. So we see that we are given the duty to be responsible with our finance, and God expects us to increase our finances as well. And as we see from Matthew chapter 19, verse 16 to 22, we see that the young rich man, he became very sad when Jesus told him to give up all his possessions. And we see from here that we should not be confined to the pattern of this world, that we give up or we depart from God. And we see from Proverbs chapter 3, verse 9, we see that God told us to glorify the Lord with our wealth and to give all our first fruits of all our crops. And so God also urges us to give our tithes, and to we are the stewards of all of these things that already belong to God. So this God is the rightful owner. And so we have to be responsible and be faithful in our spendings, in our handling of money. But the Bible doesn't really condemn us of wealth, but it tells us to be more mindful in our use, and also make sure that we do not become greedy or boastful and prideful.
Thank you so much, Miss Visala. That makes a lot of sense, and I think clears a lot of doubt. Most of the time we think we tend to misinterpret the Bible, especially in the context of the rich young man, and we tend to wonder that it's only the poor and those people who are struggling and needy are going to get to heaven. But thank you for reminding us that the Bible does, especially God, does not condemn wealth. In fact, He's the one who gives wealth to us as gifts, and it's our responsibility also to manage them well, and also we are given the responsibility to make use of those finances. So thank you so much for reminding us once again very clearly and very timely about biblical view of finances. Now, having said that, sadly, in our society today, we are seeing phenomenal increase in crime rates, and I think most of those crimes can be traced back to this mad pursuit of wealth and people trying to live beyond their means. So, having said that, why don't you give us some of the personal, relational, social, effects of financial illiteracy, or the effects that are coming out or that we are seeing in our society today because people are financially illiterate?
So talking about financial illiteracy and how it and what's its effect. First, we will see what is financial illiteracy. So it is in simple words, it is the inability to comprehend and to effectively deal with our financial management. And so, in a wider sense, we can say that, uh, like, if we are to measure and to identify financial literacy in people, we can see it from their financial behavior, attitudes, and how they perceive or how they use their finance. Most of the study in the financial literacy showed that most of the people, the financial consumers, they are not aware of this financial literacy. That for this illiteracy, problems such as lack in financial management and personal issues, these are being growing up in our society. So as a result, this has affected all ages and in all socio-economic levels. For this, it has led to many people to make poor financial choices and also affected the overall being of a person. So, and due to this lack of this knowledge, many people have become a prime victim of predatory lending, victims of high rate interest, and also having bad credit scores, and even to the extent of bankruptcy. Financial illiteracy, it prevents the people from becoming effective supporters or producers of social and economic aspects. So financial literacy has prevented people to be effective members of the economy and of the society, handicapping people from seeking financial security, and also as a result, it magnifies the mental and physical issues related to debts and making people to physical and mental issues associated with death and lessen the chance of people to come out from that circle of death. So I think it's high time for our society to also ponder and think about the importance of addressing the issue of financial illiteracy.
Well, that's very well put. I think you're quite right. The need of the hour is to start really educating the people on financial literacy. The point that you made, the predatory lending, I think we are seeing increasing victims of such practices here in our own social context, and all those things are resulting out of lack of financial literacy and also proper management of their financial resources. And I think that point is something that we all need to be very careful of. So thank you for highlighting that for us and also the viewers at home listening. Having said that, we are living in a society driven by consumerism. Every advertisement that we see, every shopping malls we go to, buy one get one free, season discount sale, and all those stuffs. Just trying to lure us into buying stuffs and things that we may already have and we may actually not need as well. And also media as well try to portray this kind of picture that if you're not wearing certain kind of perfume, then you're not counted. If you're not wearing certain kind of brands, then maybe you're not living right. So driven by this consumerism and by this age of just people trying to sell the product and impose it on us, what could be some of the factors, apart from this or also including these, that is affecting, could be personal, social, or cultural forces that is affecting our financial choices or our spending?
So most of us, in every day of our lives, we spend at least a penny or two. So our financial spending, it is influenced by a number of factors. So let me first begin with materialism. So as you have mentioned, the society, it hypes consumerism, where people think that our happiness, security, and success, it comes from money and material things. So despite accumulating wealth, people still have the desire to want for more. Now we also have this distorted financial values, where greed, covetousness, and then comparing ourselves to others. This often leads to unnecessary debt, and then also unfulfillment of some financial needs, even including providing the basic necessities like food and clothing for the family. And then we also have this high social obligation where the society have high cultural expectations from us, and the individual is pressured when that expectation is beyond what the person actually has. We also have this impulsive buying where you make a stop and you just purchase things without considering whether it is affordable or whether it is a need or whether it is actually worth it.
Okay, so supplementing to that, I just want to bring one view as well that is, very much happening in our society, and that is the sprouting or popularizing of cyber consumerism, where because of its easy accessibility and availability, most people they are becoming addicted to, in a way, to online shoppings and then uh, internet purchase. So I think that is also one major reason that is determining our way of how we should spend our money. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for the highlighting very clearly for us the factors that is affecting our financial spending. And as Ms. Kenny has very eloquently stated, I think one of the persistent problem that we as a society that we are facing is the social expectation, the spending. We are living in an age where our spending or our giving is starting to define who we are or the status that we have. So I think we really need to break free from all these sorts of factors or chains that affects our financial spending. Thank you for highlighting those points for us. Well, when you talk about handling finances, we know it's a problem for many of us because, like you have very clearly stated, spending a penny or two in a day, we just spend it without thinking twice. And I think at the end of the day, all the spendings culminates into a bigger problem. So we have to be careful of even our small spending. But it's a problem for many of us. It has been a problem, and I'm sure it will be a problem even long after we are gone. But we know that there are surely ways that we can help each other out through our shared experiences, through the knowledge that we have gained, or our own sharing our financial knowledge with one another. So, what are some of the ways, practical approaches, or some advices that we can use to help people who are really struggling with managing their financial resources?
So they say that money is the root cause of all our problems. But I think money itself is not the problem, but it depends on the individual who is making use of the finance. And we think that only when we get a better job with a high salary, then only we can overcome this financial breakthrough. But it is not so. That's not the only way. But having a good skill for managing finance is a way. And I would like to give out 5 important approaches which are very practical. Firstly, to check on and reflect on ourselves, on our actions, how we are spending our money, and in which areas we are spending too much. For example, we tend to spend money on things that are unnecessary, that we will not use again, like one-time use items. And secondly, we need God's guidance in our finances. So financial problems is not only about lack of finance, but also a lot of stress and anxiety, and it totally disrupts our well-being. So it affects us mentally, physically. So I think we need to learn how to manage our finances. And when we become too stressed, we tend to inculcate habits that are very unhealthy, which may further lead us to more losses, like getting into bad habits like alcohol, which will lead us to spend more money. And then thirdly, which would be to keep a track on our finances. We need to keep a monthly schedule on how we are spending our finances. And fourthly, to avoid loans. Taking loans, it's for unavoidable situations, it's acceptable, but to make sure that we pay it off in the right time. And another tip would be to keep a emergency fund or a security savings to avoid taking loans. And lastly, it would be to set our priorities, to set our needs and wants, and not to keep pending our needs just because we want to or desire to get something now.
Well, those are really helpful practical approaches. You have clearly stated, and I think we all agree that the dissolution is that if you have more, you'll be satisfied or you'll be contented. But that is always not the case. The more you have, the more you want. And I think that's a very unhealthy mindset that you have addressed. And also the practical approaches that you have given, I think as long as we're here, we'll be handling finances. As long as we're here, we'll be needing money to. So those approaches will really help us to be careful with the way we see finances or with the way we manage them. So the message is loud and clear for all of us, even for viewers back at home. Let us wrap up the discussion. But before we do that, if there is anyone out there, who needs to hear a word of encouragement or an advice from you, especially people who may be struggling with their financial management or going through the consequences of having made some bad financial choices. So what is the one word of encouragement or advice that you would like to leave them with?
So if you're struggling with money, you're not alone. So you don't have to figure it all by yourself, but reaching out, it doesn't show that you're weak, but it is a strength in itself. So let us remember not to make money be our master, but let's master over money.
So I believe in this, that the way a person uses one's finances would determine and indicate how one's commitment is to with God. And so we need to be very mindful and careful in the way we handle and manage our finances. It involves a daily process of discipline, a habit to really work on our finances. And we have talked a lot about saving up, but we also need to learn how to be generous, we need to have the discernment to be flexible, to also know how to spend in what areas that is needful. And also it is good that after achieving a particular goal that has been successful, you need to have a treat for ourselves to appreciate the effort so that you can have a healthy way of processing.
So I think that there is power in admitting our mistakes. And so the real courage or the real strength is to start over again. Yeah.
Thank you for those words of encouragement and also some really helpful advices. With that, we come to the end of today's discussion. But once again, let me reiterate that managing finances can be a challenge, especially in a world driven by expectations and consumerism. This calls for urgent need to talk more on financial literacy, and we hope that this content will set you on your path to seeking greater knowledge on financial management. Thank you for tuning in with us on this 23rd episode of S.A.L.T, Sharing and Learning Together. Once again, I'm Mihimuapan, and until the next time, stay safe, stay wise, and spend wisely.